how to get the stuff done, because that's a different problem. And I don't think we have enough time to talk about how to get stuff done.
You know, I don't know if I agree with that, because if we set up a framework now to communicate in the future, we'll get a lot more done overall than if we just talk about stuff today.
Yeah, I don't have enough time to talk about stuff.
No, there's not enough time for stuff. I've got a list of 100 things of stuff.
Well, only if we took one stuff and talked about it, and then look at that in a broad view and say, okay, now how can we apply this to all the other million other things? Just use one as a sort of an example.
Have each person mention something and
Maybe.
talk about
But I agree, we don't want to open a can of worms. It's a
Yeah.
big can of worms.
It's a huge can of worms. I think the core thing of this meeting, this time frame, was the process. And I think we found a place and a process. And I hear you, about kudos, and that's why I tried to put stuff on the discussion list, the kudos or the Koha discuss, as well as the kudos list for those people who don't want to be on the discuss list all the time and hear about, okay, I'm trying to do this new Debian da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, delete.
So there are two things I'm thinking. One is regarding filing stuff on Bugzilla as an enhancement and looking at enhancements that are on there. You want to make sure that you're not looking, if you're looking at an enhancement, you want to make sure it's about the same version of Koha that you're interested in. You're not interested in an enhancement to version 1.7 or something. That doesn't affect you. I'm assuming most people are not on version less than 1.7.
But it still may be an enhancement that we need, or somebody might want.
Right, but it would not be the same ticket, and it wouldn't be the same code. So it wouldn't be the same project in large part. For minor differences in version, it's not as big a deal, but it would be a big deal for major differences in co-op version.
Well, and I think that's why we have to go backward and look at those 240 bugs that are there, or enhancements that are there, and see, because those people may have replaced them and then they've moved on to 2.2 or they're on 3, so they don't care about 1, but it's still something they'd want to see. So then we have to update the release there for that request too.
So then the second thing is about kind of process with these larger projects. I don't think, for small features and small bug fixes, I don't think it's a really big deal. I don't think we're going to have much conflict, even if you do happen to have two vendors submit similar code for the same minor enhancement. I don't think anyone's going to feel particularly hard up, right? It's the major projects where you get into code conflicts and talking larger sums of money, larger amounts of personal time. So the thing that I would recommend in implementation for a larger project is not to hold all your code for 9 months and then drop it as a huge bomb on the code base all at once. You should be able to specify at an early phase what your data structure is going to look like, what your abstraction layer is going to look like, and that stuff is in code unrelated to existing Koha stuff. So it can be incorporated cleanly now, before your user-facing implementation and your scripts are implemented. That stuff can be in there, and if another vendor or an individual or institution wants to start implementing stuff related to that project, they can use your data structure, they can use your abstraction layer, and the final delivery of that feature isn't going to be dependent on a huge patch bomb, not conflicting with all other developments that happened in those 9 months.
I just assumed that was already happening. Is that not the case?
I can't speak for
Well,
anybody else.
then that is the case. I mean, if we don't know that, yes, that's a potential problem.
Right. Part of the onus does have to be on the vendor to, when you're ready to submit something, to make sure it actually is applicable against the head.
Right, that's correct.
One of the things to keep in mind is that as part of many sponsorship processes, whoever's sponsoring or co-sponsoring it does get the first crack at testing it. So even if even if one releases a lot of information about the enhancement, as you should, it could still be a while before the full version is released, and sometimes big, huge patch forms are inevitable.
But this doesn't sound like a place you really want. You guys keep saying vendors, and I want to use the word developers, because if I'm just a library who's got one programmer dude that's going to work with me,
you have to don't want them to spend all their time to do something that's the way. If you have one person, you don't want that person to spend 8 months working on something that's never going to make it ahead, or has just wasted time because the day before they submitted it, a vendor releases a full-blown package.
Well, I definitely want to make sure my developer knows how to get in there and find all the things and knows what's going on and make sure he's or she's integrating everything. But what I was going to say is, more importantly, you probably don't want me or the librarian poking around in the Bugzilla.
No, we do.
Yeah, we do. We do it all the time. We do it every day. We're in there. Every single day. That's how we keep on top of what's going on.
Yeah, the thing is,
We're some of the obnoxious clients because we're always in there like, what's the deal? What's the deal? They're coming. How about now? How about now? How about now?
now,
How about now?
the thing about a Bugs database is, in a community open source project, it's a little different from how you may have interacted with a support ticket system with a proprietary vendor. A Bugs database, in a large sense, is the technical memory of the project. It is also a communications mechanism. It's not used. It's not. One of the things that you often see in significant Koha bugs is a long discussion about what the problem is, how it should be fixed. Different approaches for dealing with it. Me Too's from librarians asking, is it ready? Is it ready? Is it ready? So, it's not something that needs to be treated as, tablets of stone that only programmers get to inscribe on. It's really for anybody with an interest in the project to work with.
It would probably be helpful to you to see when you start talking about, as a developer, how you're going to fix it or what the problem really is. It would probably be helpful to you to have all of us looking at it and say, well, that's really not the problem. The problem really is this other thing, and you fixing it that way would probably really screw us up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with the Koha, that specter always exists because of the vast variety of workflows. So as long as you're not being silly about it, working in the bugs database is a very useful and a very valid way to contribute to the project.
Do you want to just add? I'm curious how many people are staying the next 2 days, 2.5 days for the developers conference.
Part of it.
Can you just raise your hand so we kind of have an idea?
Like tomorrow at least?
Yeah, tomorrow, and make sure the room is big enough.
I think that should be all right.
To repeat my announcement from the board meeting, I and the projector will be showing up to greet anybody who is actually sufficiently caffeinated at about 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Not 7.
Not 7. I mean, if you want to show up at 7, be my guest. You won't see me. Actually, a conference room in the Holiday Inn.
Well, thanks, David.